Welcome to today's tutorial of how to create your own typeface. We will be using type 3.2 and we'll also be using your hand-drawn and scanned typeface, which should be in JPEG format, or one that you have designed on Illustrator, which will also be exported as a JPEG. So you will also find that there is a hard copy of all of this, so if you would prefer to have a hard copy that has screenshots of what you're doing, then that's available from your teacher or on Google Drive. So first of all, you need to open up type 3.2. Okay, and this screen will appear. Your file and new. And this screen is really important. You need to make sure that it's in PostScript metrics, and this part here is really important because you can't come back to it, and this is where you're naming your font. This is where you would have, for example, Arial and bold, and then it would be Arial bold would be your typeface name or your font name. In here I'll just put my name and that it's regular, and then in here it would be Mrs. Cordello regular. You're going to come up with something a bit more interesting than that. And then in here, we don't want Mrs. Dunn to have copyright over it. It's yours, you own copyright. It's automatic in Australia. So you'll put your name in there and spell your name correctly. And then hit OK. Okay, so remember, you can't come back to this, so it might be a good idea to have a think about what you like to call your typeface. Okay, so now you'll see the screen has changed. You'll recognise a few things that we've been learning about. Your ascender line, your caps height, your X height. This is your baseline, even though it doesn't say it there. And your descender line. This is where your letter or your glyph will begin, and then this is adjustable where your glyph will end, so effectively your kerning line. Over here is your glyph list, so you'll recognise this from the list that you were given from your teacher, also on Google Drive. And so you begin by selecting the glyph that you want to start with. So I'm going to go with a capital A and double click on that. No glyph is mapped to this character, so we haven't assigned an image to the capital A. Create a new glyph mapped to this character. Yes, I would like to. Okay, then you come up here to where it says trace graphics. This is where I'm going to find the image. So I'm going to load my graphic and I'll use this one here. Alright, so now I've loaded it, so it's a picture, so it's a JPEG that you've loaded, and then I'm going to draw, it says all of these instructions over here, I'm going to draw a box around here. If I need to navigate around this, I could come over here. I'm using my right mouse button, so it says it over here somewhere. Right click and drag to navigate. Okay, so that's what it's meaning. If I needed to get to the Y, then that's what you would do. Okay, but the capital A was already on there. I'm just going to make sure I've got the whole capital A in there. It doesn't matter if I accidentally, say if I was doing one, I don't think any of them overlap, but say if I accidentally grabbed a bit of the B, that wouldn't matter because you can delete those bits later. Okay. So here is also important, is it uppercase or lowercase? So it's an uppercase, so I'll leave that, and I'm going to click next. You can see that most of my capital A hasn't appeared, so you can change the threshold. And then hit next, and now we're in the trace one. This allows you to change how many nodes and how speckled it is. Like if there's lots of dots around, you can despeckle it. And then I'm going to hit trace. Okay, so it's assumed that the bottom of that letter A is where I want it to be. I might want it to be further into the descender line. So at the moment it's selected, but if I click over there, it's deselected. So if I select everything, then I can use, there's a few different tools that you can use. The main one that we use really is the stretch tool. Okay, so that just allows me to stretch it, make it larger, and then I can drag it all down and move it to where I want it. I'm happy with that. And it's really important that you move your green kerning line, because that's where the next letter is going to start. Okay, and then come back over, double click, and then you do the same with the B. Okay, no glyph mapped. Yes, I want to. Find the B. So this is probably the quickest part of designing your own typeface. Really, some of them are a bit difficult to see. It depends on what you have been making. Okay, you've designed it. So So bring that back. I might want to drag that down, but for the sake of showing you guys. Okay, and then once you've finished, so you've done all of your glyphs, all of your numbers, your lowercase, uppercase, and symbols, then you need to save it as a GFS data. So that's kind of like your Photoshop file or your Illustrator file. So it's the working file that you can come back to. Okay, so make sure you save that wherever you want to. I'll just save it onto the desktop. And then, okay, and then you need to go to Global, convert to TT curves. And this is saying you can't go back, so make sure you've saved it as GFS first. So it's just a little helper to make sure that you do it. Hit yes, and then you can go save as TTF OTF. Okay, so I'm going to also save that on my desktop. I might put it somewhere where I can find it a bit quicker. In here, save. Okay, and then I'll go to that spot, which was desktop. And now I can install it. And then you can go to it. So yeah, only the capital A and the capital B, because they're the only ones I did. Okay, but you can install it. And then maybe go to Word or PowerPoint or something. And then I don't actually know if A or B capitals are in there. But then you can change it to my font. Should be in here. Is it my font? Is that what I called it? No, I called it my name, didn't I? Mrs. Cordello. Not sure what I called it. Let's go back to here and say Mrs. Cordello regular, so it should be in there as Mrs. Cordello regular. It hasn't installed it. Just go back to here. Install it again. Maybe I'll try in Word. Capital A and B. There you go, this is Cordello. And so then you can test to see if it worked. Okay, so that's where you can see, is it too big of a gap? Like, was it out here? Do I need to adjust something? But it's really good at this stage to actually write a proper sentence so that you can see if it's going to look authentic. Okay, so that's how you create your own 2-type font. If you have any questions, you can contact me or your teacher and ask.